Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 168. And as you can see, I'm here in the Twilight Forest, and there is a new structure here, which you probably noticed because I looked at it. The windmill here is my new power source for this outpost. And it was mostly just a little test, and to supplement the solar panels, of course, which don't produce a whole lot of power. So this windmill is from Railcraft 2, of course, and as you can probably guess, it produces power based on wind. And the way it works is the higher up you are, and the less stuff there is in a specific area around the windmill, and I don't really know how that works, but it checks an area around this block basically, and the more blocks there are blocking the wind, the less effective this is going to be. And you can test how much wind there is by using this. Now I don't think this takes blocks into account. It just takes the height and the weather into account, because if there is a brainstorm like there is right now, the wind will be stronger. Normally it's just above 10 somewhere. Now currently this says no space for rotor, and that is because there is a block inside of the immediate rotor area, which will keep this from running at all. Although the animation is still playing, which is a bug, which will hopefully have been fixed in 1.10. But this shouldn't be taking damage now, because it is technically not running. It's just visually running. Anyway, so this acts as a brake, and what happens is we have a bat box here, which is set to emit a redstone signal if it is full. Powers this redstone or red alloy wire, which powers the piston, causing it to push this block out and apply a brake, essentially, to the wind turbine. You can also use something to pull this rotor item out of the turbine block or wind generator block, but I like this method more. It's ever so slightly more immersive, I guess. Doesn't really matter though. I think this takes up less space as well. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so this is an alternate power source in here. Although I am going to have to move this stuff when I move my base, because if I make a new portal, Twilight Forest portal at the new base, that is going to appear in a new location in the Twilight Forest, of course. Which means I will be very far away from this outpost. So I'm going to have to move this. But the actual reason we are here is to steal 2 of these solar panels, because I'm going to use them as a power source at the construction site, because the railway is now complete. The bridge, you can see the block was retracted to allow the windmill to produce power. And of course the solar panels aren't producing any power right now because it is raining, which means there isn't enough sun. But you will see that we are regaining power here anyway. Of course it's coming from the bat box up there, which will be refilled by the windmill. But yeah, so the railway and bridge are complete. I have laid the tracks all the way up to the village, and actually kind of around it, because of how the terrain worked out. And I've reached the plains sort of area where I intend to start building my new base. But I'm going to have to flatten the terrain a bit to construct buildings on top of it. And to do that, I intend to use this. And built. And to power it, because of course it requires power. That was the wrong bag. It goes in this one. Not that it matters that much. I intend to use an electrical engine, and to power the electrical engine I'm of course going to use solar panels, which don't produce too much power, but it will be sufficient for this, I think. Still better than doing it by hand, and I don't really have a good power source out there. I could probably maybe take a combustion engine or something. Maybe a biogas engine. I don't know. I think an electrical engine powered by solar panels will do the job sufficiently. And in case you're wondering why my base is dark, it's because I've turned the power off. Because as you might know, I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, I probably have, I built this base within the spawn area, which is the area that is kept loaded around the spawn point, which means that the base is always loaded as long as the server is running, which means that it is pretty much always consuming power when it is on because of all these lights. So I've started turning it off by turning on this lever when I'm not here to conserve power, because it is annoying having to go change the fuel rods every few hours. I mean, they last like 5 hours or something, but still, that can fly by pretty quickly when you're working on stuff. But yeah, so I think that is pretty much what I wanted. It's going to be, I'm going to have a lot of things to move when the new base is starting to get assembled. Put up a nice painting here. Not sure if I think I showed that already, actually. But yes. So I think I'm going to cut the video here. And I'm going to ride the train back all the way to the base. I didn't teleport this time. Hello? Happened there. But yeah, so I'm going to ride the train all the way back to the construction site, or future construction site. And that takes a while, so I'm going to cut it out, but I will see you when I am there. And we will start planning out the new base and start flattening some terrain. So, I will see you in a little bit. Alright, so we are back, and we are at the end of the railway, of course. As you can see, the locomotive is still hot, so I just arrived. The village is over in that direction. It is, you can see one of the buildings right there. So this is the area I want to build my new base in, and it is reasonably flat. Flatter than the jungle I previously built in. So what I'm going to want to do first is getting rid of this. So I might actually want to start over here. Let's start where this block is, right here. And let's lock that. I'm going to want to go in this sort of direction. Put a marker there. And then we are going to want one over here. Probably here. That should do. Should make for a good start. Then of course we will create the selection and then put the filler down like that. Collect our landmarks again, because I'm going to need them again eventually. And then we are going to set up the filler, but we are not going to fill anything, we are going to clear. So we're going to use the flatten, although it probably doesn't really matter. The flatten will remove everything to clear the sky regardless of the selection, while there's also a clear which will just remove everything inside of the selection. So if you have selected a cube, it will only clear that cube. Then we're going to put the electrical engine like that, and we're going to provide some power to it via solar panels. Should be sufficient, unless it starts raining. Right. Great timing on that, weather. Great timing on that. Also going to need a lever. So I'm just going to make that quickly. Right. So this is not going to do anything until the rain has stopped, obviously, because we won't have any power, and I don't have any other power sources with me. The closest I can get is collecting the nuclear reactor that is over on that island the bridge crosses, where I had the robot recharging station set up. But that seems a little overkill for a filler. What I'll probably do instead, now I have hypothermia, what I'll probably do instead is wait for this rain to stop off camera, and then I will be back, and we'll pick back up from there with power. So I will see you in a little bit, or whenever the rain stops. Alright, so we are back, and the sun is going down, but it has stopped raining. And I've just been making some chicken. So let's... How? Let's head back out to the filler. Actually, just realized that since it is night, there isn't going to be any power still, is there? I am stupid. Right, so I guess I'll have to come back once it is day, because of course the solar panels can't store much power either, which is a little unfortunate. But yeah, so once it is day, I will be back again, and then we will continue doing what we were doing. This might have gotten a little power at least. And there it just is out. Well, alright. So I will be back once again when it is daytime. So I will see you then. And the sun has come up, and we should now have some amount of power at least. So this can now start working. Now, of course, since the blocks are 4 times harder than normal, as you can see, the filler is going to have to work 4 times as hard to remove them. So I assume each of these cubes represent one hardness level, which is interesting. But yeah, so that is going to take a while. Now, while that is going on, we can just talk a little bit about what the plan is going to be. I'm going to climb this tree to get a little bit of an overview. So, the railway is coming in here. So, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to build a station area here, which is going to have tracks going back, or a railway going back to the old base and everything in between along the long railway, of course. It's probably going to receive oil shipments that way, as well as all of my stuff is going to get shipped on this railway, of course. And I'm going to have a station here, which is going to be a lot bigger than the old one. Then from here, I'm going to have kind of like a city kind of thing going on in this area, where I'm going to have buildings separated by a bunch of land. And to get around this base, we're going to set up an electric track network. Now, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that yet. For power, I'm going to build a building somewhere, probably in a central location. So probably from this, we're going to have a way going this way, and then here somewhere we're going to have a central power building, a power plant, which is going to contain the nuclear reactor, probably still in an underground bunker, as well as the a boiler room with maybe multiple boilers, as well as some windmills probably, and a few solar panels. Basically covering all kinds of situations, running out of nuclear materials, running out of fuel. We're going to want some alternate sources to ensure that we are never out of power. Then from that building, we're going to go out in a cross kind of shape, where I'm going to have a separate workshop and a storage and sorting building, which is probably also going to handle ore processing and have the machines for that, the rock crushers and the ore washing plants, the thermal centrifuge. Probably going to want to expand that system so it has multiple of each machine and not just the rock crushers, so that it is faster. And of course all of those are going to have to be connected to the power plant, probably through air wires going on poles, instead of going inside of the ground for the visual effect mostly, obviously. But yeah, and then the tracks are going to connect all of these places so you can get around quickly on small basically an electric locomotive with a single cart behind it, or maybe two. And what I might want to set up is a system so that there is at least one train waiting at each location at any time. And what I'll probably do is use open computers. I'll have a central server set up that keeps track of each location and where the trains are. So when one train arrives at a location that already has one, it is going to be sent somewhere else, or send away the one that is already there and route it to the appropriate destination that doesn't have one. Maybe I'll use Railcraft routing for that, so that the train that arrives goes back to where it came from automatically. But we'll see. I'll have to think about that a little bit to make a decision on that. Both of those would be pretty interesting, I would think. I'm also going to want to expand my factory. That'll probably be connected to or be in the same building as the ore processing and storage, because of, well, it's going to need access to the item storage for components. Now, what I might want to do with that is, in the workshop, I want to have a terminal that can request items to be crafted in the factory and then have them sent to the workshop. So I don't actually have to run over or ride over to the factory, have the items crafted, and then take them back to the workshop to use them, but instead just say I want X number of Y item, and it will be made and shipped to me automatically. So setting up that should be interesting as well. There's going to be a lot of things to do in this new base. The first thing, obviously, is going to be building the station, and I'll probably do most of the buildings not on the Let's Play, but not necessarily off camera. I might do it on streams, at least parts of it, probably not all of it. But I might stream some of the building. So if you want to watch that, either come watch the stream, or you can watch the recording of the stream after the fact, which is also going to be a possibility. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, I've started streaming, and I stream on YouTube. So I schedule the streams either a few hours before on the same day, or sometimes the day before. So keep an eye on my my Twitter and my YouTube feed for those scheduled events. But yeah, so that's, if you're interested in that, come visit the stream to watch the building. Of course, I haven't started yet, so it's still going to be a while. Not entirely sure which level I want to be at. I might actually want to lower this one more. To be at sort of this level. This might be too low. Although that looks kind of like it would be the ground level. Oh, of course, and Phil will also try to fill in lower areas, while clear, of course, just removes any blocks inside of the um, inside of the selection. Of course, this doesn't have any blocks right now, but if I give it a bunch of dirt blocks, this should start filling in this hole over here with them. Because it wants to flatten the area. Of course, this might not be structurally sound, what this is doing, because it doesn't take that into consideration, of course, which is a thing you will have to plan for if you're using environment like I am. But hey, if things collapse, you can just put more blocks in. It'll probably stop falling eventually. But yeah, this is kind of slow. I might want to go get that reactor actually and get some power going. And now things are going to shut down because we have run out of sunlight. So I might actually really want to go get that reactor. Also note that the filler currently, at least in my pack, is set to not return any blocks. You can't change that setting so that you get the so it drops the blocks it destroys, but I have it set not to do that. Looks like we have a Railcraft water source here, which is nice, right next to the station, so I can use that to, well, as a water source. So that's convenient. I'll probably have water tanks around the rest of the base as a water supply, because I'm going to want drinkable water throughout the base that you can take from. I could also put source blocks around, but that you can drink directly from, which is slightly more convenient, but it feels kind of a little weird, I think, that you would drink from a puddle or a small pool instead of drinking from a bottle, like a civilized Minecraftian. But yeah, so I think that is going to do it for this episode. I'm going to keep clearing the terrain, or flattening the terrain. I'm going to decide on a level to stick with. I'll probably go with this level, the one I'm standing on right now, because it seems more like the middle ground. So I'll clear this all away eventually. And I'm not sure what we will do in the next episode. Maybe some more planning, maybe something in the Twilight Forest. Maybe make a new portal here, and go get the stuff from the current outpost and move it, make a new one, and then start exploring that area. Because of course we're going to end up in a completely new area. Going to have to make new maps and such. But yeah, lots of things to do. Going to need to start packing up the old base as well. Get all the machinery into boxes, cardboard boxes. Pack up all the resources appropriately. I'm going to try to compress everything as much as I can using cardboard boxes and boxes from Artifice, of course, to make to have to do as few trips as possible, but it's probably still going to require quite a few trips to get everything here. Going to do it in not everything at once either, of course, because I'm going to need the building set up first. I'm going to build the buildings first, of course, and set up the machinery and such afterwards, and plan everything out first. The very first step is going to be planning, because the old base, as you might have noticed, is kind of a mess. Especially in the factory, uh, there's very little space in certain places, and it's just kind of a hodgepodge of stuff everywhere. So the new base is going to be set up to be much nicer, much more spacious, which is one of the reasons I want to split everything up into separate buildings to keep things apart, and space things out in case I want to expand, um, and also to reduce performance hits due to too much stuff in one place, which was the issue, which is an issue with the current base, or was before the upgrade. But yeah, enough rambling from me now. I'm going to end the episode here, and I will see you in the next one.